Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Welcome. Good to see you, Lauren. Hey, Ciara. Good to see you again. Good morning. Rebecca, hello. How are you? Daniel's here too. Team, as we're arriving into the workshop today, I'd love you to just put in the chat where you are coming from in the world. We always get people from all corners of the globe at these workshops. That is one thing that people often mispronounce. It is called inspirational book writers. They often say international book writers. Welcome, Daniel. Good to see you. Ciara's from Bali. Lauren's in Sydney. Awesome. Salt Lake City, Utah. Hello to Rachel. Awesome, awesome. Team, is it okay today? Rebecca's in Brisbane. Hi, Rebecca. Is it okay today if this is a really interactive workshop where, I mean, look around. At the moment, it's a small group. We did have 24 registrations. It's a small group. That means you guys get essentially a private show with Davina and Rachel and myself. So is it okay if we keep this interactive, if we make this the absolute best use of your time so that you get to the end of this workshop and go, wow, I'm so happy I went to that because I got so much out of it. Would that be okay? Can I get a thumbs up if you're in for that? Yeah, awesome. Because that's really what we're here for. Today is about, like you might have seen in some of the promotions for this is the kickoff point for books. This is the kickstart point. This is the activation point. And we take this workshop very seriously because if we look at the statistics out there in the world, you might have heard me say this, 81% of the population say they want to write a book, and have a guess what percentage it is that every year is successful at that. Have a go in the chat. What do you think it is? And if you know the answer, Davina and Rachel, do not say the answer. What do you reckon it is? 5%, 2%. Daniel's been watching my marketing, 0.01%. Yeah, so it's what writing a book is this thing that pretty much everyone wants to do, and yet hardly anyone succeeds at. And we've been in this game for 10 years now. In August, we will be 10 complete years of running Inspirational Book Writers. What we've seen is the people with an effective, a clear, a concise book map, they are the ones that, like, it's almost like that's the key that unlocks the journey. So that's why we take this workshop very seriously, because we know that this is a massive part of success for you and your book, and for it to happen with an element of grace and ease. You know, has anyone shown up here to grind their way through a book that's going to take the next 12 years to write? I don't see any hands, right? Who's in for some grace and ease? Can I get a thumbs up if you're, yeah? And we go the thumbs up because the thumbs up is the universal sign of I'm in, I'm with you, I understand, regardless of where you are in the world. So I want to know, before we kick off today, and I'll introduce you to Davina and Rachel in just a moment. They're our coaches on our team. I want to know what's brought you here today. So Lauren, Ciara, Rebecca, Daniel, why have you come today? I'd love you to put in the chat. What has brought you here today? What are you hoping to get from today? It is a small group, so we can tailor this directly for you. This is almost one-to-one. You almost get us one-to-one here. What's brought you here? What are you looking for? Is it clarity of some type? Is book clarity? Yeah. Thank you, Lauren. Are you looking for direction? Are you looking for the firecracker of inspiration to get you going? Maybe this has been something you've been sitting on for a long time. Rebecca saw Davina's post. She's doing a PhD and would love to write a book about my experiences with kids with music performance anxiety. Fantastic. Awesome. And not an experienced writer. The good news is you don't have to be the Picasso of writing to write a book. Okay. I was talking to Ciara about this last night. There's a big difference between academic writing for PhD. Yeah, we've seen Rebecca roll her eyes. Can anyone else relate to that? That There's a big difference. Has anyone been to university or some sort of further study and they've been, they need the full stop in the right place and they need the you can't say anything unless it's been referenced. Where's your reference, Rebecca? Be quiet unless you have one. It's like, that's not what this is. Okay. So if by some mistake you were looking for academic book writers, this is not the place. Great to get that clear. And I feel like I have the right, I've earned the right to go to town on academia, as I did 2 degrees, including a law degree. So I've been in that world. I've been with those people. They're cool, and it's a different world. Rebecca's nodding. Ciara says motivation and clarity for structure. Yeah. Who else is here for structure? Like if structure dropped in today, would that be useful? Yeah. Lauren saying yes. Daniel, definitely. Yep. Direction on how to write a book. Awesome. So we will definitely go deep into structure as well. Can I just get a show of hands? Who is a first-time author? Is this your first book? Yep. Yep. First time. Yep. Awesome. Okay. Cool. So we've got structure, we've got motivation, we've got clarity. Just check in with yourselves one more time. Is there anything else that you'd really love to get clear on today about your book, about the path forward? There's loads that we can cover. What about message, like clarifying the message and really dialing into the title, the subtitle, that sort of thing? Yeah, because, Daniel's a yes. What I find is that when you've got that title and subtitle, you've got a North Star to aim for. And then what that does is it helps you to make decisions further on down in the book. Like, oh, does this head me towards my North Star or not? Lauren's curious about the message. What's the exact thing? Yeah, who's got loads of stuff to share? Can I get a show of hands if you've got heaps of ideas, heaps of stories, heaps of concepts? Yep, if there's multiple messages, how to combine them. Awesome. So we'll definitely talk about that, because sometimes people come into the space and they go, well, I think I've got 2 books or 3 books. And then it becomes clear, actually, you can do that as 1 book. Or it becomes clear you can do that as a series. Does this make sense? So we're going to get a lot of clarity on your individual books today. Before we do, would it be okay if I just introduce you to our co-coaches and facilitators today, Davina and Rachel? Yeah, awesome. So I want to introduce you to Davina. First of all, Davina, say hi. Davina and I, she's almost like my older sister. She's not, but that's how close I think we are. Davina's been with us since 2017, has helped over 150 now book writers to get their books out. 250, ridiculous numbers. We call Davina the Oracle because she gets the downloads on exactly the right words for the title, the right drop, just the exact thing that you need to hear in the right moment to open the door to flow. So I'm super excited to have Davina with us. Davina is our publishing manager at Inspirational Book Writers. She's got 15 years experience in the publishing industry. Before she was with us, she was working in publishing for a magazine. She knows the publishing world. And in terms of like personal development, the spiritual sort of fields, about as experienced as they come. An intuitive body worker, coaching. What else have you got under your belt, Davina? Yoga. Raw dessert maker of the century. If you ever get the chance to have Davina's raw desserts, definitely take that opportunity. So big welcome to you, Davina. Really glad to have you here, and Davina will chime in at different times. I'd love to also welcome Rachel. Rachel's our head editor and book coach in North America. So Rachel's in Salt Lake City. And what you'll notice, or we haven't spoken about it yet, but one of our main ways that we help people write their book is through the online book writing intensive, which is a 7-day book writing event where we help people to write their book in a week. And obviously me and Davina are in Australia. And how we run that event is we have check-ins around the clock on a 24-hour basis. And so while we're sleeping, Rachel's holding the fort for North America, for our clients in Europe, doing the check-ins and the coaching. Rachel's you got 5 books, 3 journals, and she also writes an award-winning yoga blog. So loads of experience. I really, just to share with you all, I grew up playing team sports, and I really value having a quality team. And so I've really scouted out and been like, who are the awesome people that can help awesome people like you to get your books out. So I don't know what we can do to welcome you guys. Can we just, I don't know. Yes. Hi, welcome, round of applause. Great to see you. Awesome to have Davina and Rachel on board. Cool. So team, if I may, I'll just take like 2 minutes to just share a little bit more about inspirational book writers and where we're coming from, and then we'll get straight into the book map. Would that be cool? Can I just give you a thumbs? Can I get a thumbs up on that? Yep. Thank you. Thank you. And welcome to Dame Disney joining us as well. I know you don't have your video on, good sir, but welcome to you. So like I said, we've been doing this since 2014. My background, I was a lawyer, and then I was like, I can't do this for my life. I need to find something else. And then I found coaching, and I started to build up my own coaching business. And then someone said to me, write your book. Like, that's how you progress. That's how you expand. That's how you take your business to the next level. That's how you take your impact and reach to the next level. And I just said, all right, I'll do that. And I think I've got it here. I do. Can I show you my first book? It's a bit crappy. It's a bit crappy. Welcome to Matt as well, joining us. Good to see you, my friend. So this one here, Living Outrageously, Your Hero's Journey, 10,000 words. If you turn it sideways, it disappears. And the cover is rubbish. I didn't know what I was doing on covers then. There's a very serious looking me from 2014. Look like I'm about to, I don't know, do some sort of David Goggins commando something. Now, this book, when I first released it, I was freaking out. I didn't think I'd sell more than 10 copies. And so my first order was only 10 copies. And I'm like, well, my mum's going to buy 5. And so, okay, we'll keep the other 5 in my back office. And then that's not so embarrassing to only have 5 copies of the first order. Anyway, to my incredible surprise and delight, this book did 500 copies in the first 60 days. And what that opened up for me personally as a coach was just remarkable. I went from low-paying clients on tiny payment plans to upfront payments, big blocks of cash. At the time, what I considered big blocks of cash. And I'd always heard that books were a tool to set you apart from the crowd, to help get your message out in a bigger way. And it just blew me away what this book did for me. And people saw what happened with me in that book, and then they started asking me, hey, can you help me with that? And initially it was just my friends saying, can you just show me it? And I was like, yeah, you're my friend, no problem, let's do it. And then they started pulling out their credit cards at me and go, no, actually, like, I will pay you, I want that result. And so that was the birth of Inspirational Book Writers in 2014. I did it for myself. I found a way through the jungle of publishing. And I don't know if any of you have sort of poked your nose into the jungle of publishing at all, but it's a bit of a minefield. And what works on a Tuesday will not work on a Wednesday, but if the moon's full, it might. Or if Amazon is, in a good mood, they'll let it through. But if they're not, then it won't. So publishing is a bit of a minefield, and I found a way through, and then that's what led to this business. And now we've worked with over 250 people. The online book writing intensive coming up in June. So in a couple of weeks, that'll be our 33rd Write Your Book in a Week program. It's just what we do now, and it's a good time, and it's super fun. And I really feel like what we're here to do is help great people get great messages out to the world. And I don't know about you, but when I poke my head outside the window, I mean, this particular window right here that you can't see, but there's a window right here. It's particularly beautiful because, it's my backyard. But out in the world, there's a lot of problems right now. And there's a lot of structures and systems that are in disarray. There's a lot of people that are in pain and suffering and need solutions. And it's my belief that great people like yourselves, with your own unique perspectives and backgrounds and experiences and training, that you are the people with the messages that will create change for those people, where your voice gets to be the voice of reason, the voice of love, the voice of healing, the voice of solutions, the voice of expansion when everyone else is contracting, the voice of the new when everyone's clinging to the old. And so I think it's a really great opportunity in terms of the time in history for all of us to step up and be leaders in our own way with our own messages. And a big part of this is that it doesn't matter if we, like all of us here today, we could all have exactly the same, we could be speaking on exactly the same thing. We could be all talking about leadership. But the fact that each of us have our own background, our own training, our own experience, our own lens, our own stories is what sets books apart, because sometimes people can only hear it from you. Does that make sense? You know, have you ever been in a relationship where you're like telling your partner, like, hey, if you do this, it will transform everything for you? And they're like, yeah. And they just don't hear it. And then their friend walks in the other door and says exactly the thing that you said. And then your partner's like, oh, you're amazing. I get it. And you're like, what? I just told you that. But it's because we all have our own unique voice, and some people will only be able to hear it from you. Is this landing, team? Can I get a thumbs up if you're on board? Yeah, I'm seeing lots of nods. I know I'm coming in hot here. It's just how I get in these sessions, very passionate. So I hope my Australian accent, my talking fast, and my sometimes extreme exaggerations are cool with you guys. Is that cool? If I just be myself? Yeah, because that's another thing, right? Is that when you're writing your book, the more that you can be yourself, the better the book's going to be. Like, don't try and be Brene Brown, because you're not. Like, it's just the truth. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. This is my soapbox. You know, Davina and Rachel each also have their own soapboxes, and you'll see them from time to time on their own soapboxes. We each have our own voice, and we each need to share our message in our own way. And yeah, you can use inspiration from others, but this is about your voice in your way. And I want to give you one example of that, and then we're going to get into the book map. So we had a gentleman, let me find his book. Here it is. We had a gentleman who was a drug addict all through his teens, skipped out school, didn't go to school, didn't learn, was into that scene. And then in his early 20s, decided he needed to turn his life around by getting into health and fitness, kicked the drugs. And at the age of 30, he decided he would write a book about how he used health and fitness to kick drugs. Now, this was his first book, Drugs Do Not Discriminate, Glenn Munso. That's Glenn, right there. He'd never read a book in his life until he read his own book. There's barely a sentence in this book that is more than 10 words. So if any of you think that you need to have, you know, a literary degree in, you know, I don't know, if this needs to be you need to have some sort of special skill to write a book. If you've got a voice and you can write English sentences or whatever your language happens to be, you can do this. If you've got skills on top of that, fantastic. That means you get to play with the artistry. I know Ciara's got a bit of a background in writing. You get to be the artist in this and really like play and show the world what you're working with. So I just want to make that point before we get going. All right, let's have a bit of a stretch and a breath, because we need to keep the body moving. well, at the very least, I need to keep my body moving. Otherwise, my brain doesn't work. And if my brain didn't work, then what would happen to this workshop? Well, Davina and Rachel would step onto their soapboxes. That's what would happen. All right. So let's get into the book map. And what you'll notice with this is I really want you to approach this from a couple of perspectives. Number one, give it your best crack. If you don't know something, can we be okay with not knowing stuff? Is that cool? Yep. So give it your best crack. The first answer is then what you'll iterate from. The second point is trust the answers that come up for you as we go through these questions. Is that cool if you just press that button in yourself of like, yep, I'm going to trust myself for the next hour as we go through this. I'm going to trust what comes up. I'm going to trust that it's right. I'm not going to second guess it. I'm not going to mind fuck myself, excuse the French, but not excuse the French. And I'm just going to trust that what comes out is the right thing. And is it okay for this to be a journey of filling in the gaps? So let's say you've got some bits clear, but you've got other bits not. Can we be okay with, great, I'm seeing lots of nods. And also, can we open the space here for Davina and Rachel and myself, particularly Davina and Rachel? Would it be okay with the group if at various times we invited Davina and Rachel in to offer their perspectives on your individual books and messages? Because sometimes, like I said before, I mean, you hear me just blazing fire from the podium, and it's like, yeah, sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's a different voice that's needed. So in terms of frames for getting started, is everyone on board with those ideas? Can we get a thumbs up? Thank you, thank you. Love it. Okay. So the first question or exercise is a bit of a visualization. Okay. So if you want to close your eyes, you can. If you want to keep them open, it's totally up to you. And I just want you to take yourself from where you are now and go out to that point in the future where your book is already complete. You've already written it. You've already published it. In fact, you can hold it in your hands. You can feel it. You can feel the weight. You can feel the edges. That future version of you, does it have a message for the version of you now? Is there something that future version wants you to know right now in this moment about your book, about your message? What does it want you to know? We're bringing future wisdom to the present moment. And if we go next level for a second and get a little bit weird, hope that's okay. Imagine the book had a voice. The actual physical book was a physical thing that had a human voice. What would the book say to you? What does the book want you to know? The book was speaking to you as its own life force. What would it say? And take a moment now to write down your answers. I'll give you another 20 or so seconds. What does your future self want you to know? And what does the book want you to know? And for those playing at home, yes, this is the beginning of the collapsing of timelines. Bringing the future into the present moment as if it's already done. What does your book want you to know? I'd love to invite just one or two shares here. Rebecca, would you care to share with us? Giving voice, and I honor you for giving voice to what's come up for you. This is the first step in making it real. because it's one thing for it to be an idea. And so is it okay, team, if at various points, if I feel the flow's going that way, to give you an opportunity to actually voice it to the group? Would that be okay? Yeah, you don't have to. Like, I'm not going to force you to speak if you don't want to speak. I just felt it, and I'm like, Rebecca, I'd love to hear from you. What came up? What did you notice then?
It was a bit uncomfortable, but that's okay, isn't it? Because that's kind of growth and letting go of things. For me, the future self was confidence.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel that. I feel quite disempowered with the style of writing that I'm doing at the moment, that I feel I have no voice. I can't say anything because I have to meet all these guidelines. So for me, future self is just be confident to share your message. And for the book, it was share your message. You can do it.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Who can relate to Rebecca's share of like dialing up the confidence? Like the future self was going, yeah, like was like sending confidence to the you now. It's often a big part. And can we also make it okay that, you know, writing a book is a big thing. It's often one of the things that people look back on in their lifetime as like, wow, that was a huge moment in my life, similar to like buying a house or giving birth or something of that nature. It is a big thing. So recognizing the profoundness of it. And also, have you guys ever done something in your lives where you've stepped forward and you maybe haven't been 100% confident, but you've stepped forward anyway? Like, we've all done that at times, right? So the recognition that there is vulnerability in this task, that we're probably going to stuff things up. Yeah. That we're going to need to iterate to before it gets ready to a point where we want it to go out into the world, and to recognize that there's a group of people from all different parts of the world right now who are like, oh, wow, that is the human experience of writing a book. And if you weren't having those feelings, I'd be like, well, have the robots already taken over, Rebecca? And I know they haven't, right? So is it okay if there's humanity in your book writing experience, team? Yeah, awesome. Does anyone, Daniel, do you care to share what came up for you there? I'd be really curious to hear.
Yeah, mate. A couple of things was I was speaking to a coach. I'm a coach as well, just fairly new into this industry.
Fantastic.
And spoke to another guy who's been doing leadership coaching, executive coaching, and he said, "What are you good at?" And I said, "Turning teams around." And he says, "Do you actually have a book in you?" And I guess that's kind of led me to thinking about books. So this will, and I guess for not only for me, but for those people that read it, give me awareness, clarity, confidence, and then actions from that.
Love it. Love it. So you'd be working with businesses and like speaking and training and coaching with individuals. That's sort of where you're heading?
Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
Perfect. You know, just on that, what we find is that leadership coaches, one of the key strategies, and we'll talk more about this later on in the workshop, but one of the key strategies of how they actually get their message out is when I like look in their back ends, I'm like, oh, there's 200 books getting sent to Singapore. Because they're doing a workshop there, right? There's 50 getting sent to Melbourne because they're doing a workshop training, and the company has also, as part of the deal, bought a book for every member of staff. You know what I mean? So that like bulk movement of books is especially leadership coaching. You can do it in every niche. You can do bulk copies in every niche, but especially leadership when you're selling like the corporates. They just love that stuff. So awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And a side note, you went to Mount Everest with my sisters.
No way.
Yeah.
No
so Andrea,
way.
Andrea sent me a link and said, "Hey, get onto this."
Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that was good times. Everest Base Camp. Wowee. How about that? Oh, good to connect. I love how the circle of life. Who else notices that? Like you meet people and then you off on this, and then it's like, wow, I know you from then. That's awesome. How good. How good. Well, thank you for sharing. All right, team. Shall we move on to purpose? So we've brought the future wisdom. We're starting big picture, and we'll gradually get more and more specific as we go through today. The purpose of the book, like I said before, is really important for getting the North Star of your book clear. It helps you to make decisions on what to put in and what to put out. And it gives the book a direction. So I said at the start, this session is about giving you confidence, clarity, and direction. Having a clear purpose gives you that direction. And we call what we call, in terms of purpose, we call it the 3 purposes that we want to get clear on. Number 1 is, what's the purpose for you personally in writing the book? Number 2, and we'll give you an opportunity to go deeper on these in a moment. Number 2, professionally, why is this book important for you? And number 3, what's the purpose for the reader? So I'll give you a moment just to write down and share. If you want to put in the chat any answers that are coming up, and we can keep this interactive and give you some feedback, that would be awesome. If you want to keep it private, that's also up to you. What is the purpose for you writing your book? What are you hoping to achieve? Is this, in terms of personal and professional, does it lean one way or the other? Like some people come in and they're like, I want the book for authority and credibility so I can grow my business and increase my status in the industry and serve the people that I want to serve that way. And it's quite direct and it's very business, and there's not a lot of personal. Other people, it's more personal. It's like, hey, my soul, my spirit, my heart tells me that I have to do this, and so I just have to do it. And then for others, what we find a lot is that it's somewhere in the middle. I've been called to do this. I know I need to do it. It's deeply meaningful to me for these reasons. And I'm going to tailor it in a way that supports my work, my career, my business, my mission, my message. I'm going to do it in a way that supports and is of service to people. So I'm wondering, where do you land with that? Are there personal and professional reasons? What are the reasons for you? Rebecca, personal. Confidence in self, capacity to earn, yes. And professional, build reputation and new direction for the business. Okay, so there's a strong income driver there as well. It's like the book is a foundational piece. Like, who can see that the book is not only going to be the most awesome thing you've ever done for yourself ever, but also it can be this business tool that helps bring people into your world. Who can see that? Or who's starting to see that? Yeah. And for the reader, to build confidence in the reader, supporting children to build on their inner confidence. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. So that's pretty clear. Davina, is there anything you want to, I'll start to bring Davina and Rachel in if you guys have any reflections as well. Just maybe just pop off mute so that we can just randomly get you in. Any reflections for Rebecca on that one, Davina?
No, she actually sounds and feels very clear in what her purposes are. So that's great.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Let's have a look at Matt's. Lead the target audience towards my personal brand and invest their money in products and services I offer. Yeah, who can relate to that? Who's doing this as the book is a lead in to their world? Yeah. Because think about it. One thing that I discovered very early on, where's my 48-page crappy cover book. What I discovered very early on is that people could buy this for $20. And then the next thing they would buy was $5,000 of coaching with me. Like direct, they'd read it. And then 3 days later, they're messaging me going, yep, I'm ready to sign up. Can we just have the call about when to start? And so in terms of having a funnel where people can come in, 2014, I didn't even launch this as an ebook. I should have. I launched it as a paperback paperback that you could only get through my website, and I would personally ship it to you. I didn't have it on any stores or anything. That came slightly afterwards. But it can be a really great funnel. Ebooks, if you offer it at really low price. Some people give away the ebook in their email signature. Give it away in exchange for an email address, just to bring people into their world. Because what happens when someone, I'll give you an example. My book, Write, Publish, Launch, has just been amazing for this, is that when people read this, they get a really clear sense of who we are, what we stand for, what our process is, what our values are, what our mission is. And it gives them an opportunity to go yes or no, opt in or opt out. And that is a great thing, because if people opt into your world, imagine how it would be people coming to your world and going, Lauren, I'm in. I love it. I'm in. Read the book. I'm in. Send me a payment link. Right? At the same time, the other thing can happen where people read it and they go, nah, not for me. And they never contact you, and you never have a problem. Yeah, Matt's on board with that. You'd never have a problem with, shall we just say, butthead clients, right? Who wants a butthead client-free life? I definitely do. We've got some yeses. That's what we want to create. So being very clear what you stand for, being very clear in your messaging, allows people to opt in or opt out. So that's super, super cool. Matt says, prevent negative potential eventual results with, is it PTSD? Is that PTSD diagnosis? Beautiful. So, or if it's not use the D. Okay. So there's a contribution piece there, right? It's like, I want to contribute the stuff that I know from my journey to people who can relate to that. Who's got like stuff they need to tell people because it's going to solve stuff for them. Yeah. And underscores my journey in natural healthcare. Yeah. Beautiful. Rachel, any reflections for Matt on that one?
Well, I was just going to say that even knowing that you define a term in a certain way through your work, it makes me very curious, like what the story is there and, how that came about. And I think that that's a perfect example of how your voice comes through when you write a book, and, you're able to give someone that background and let them into your world. And that willingness to be vulnerable and share those stories builds so much trust, right? So if you are looking for a certain kind of client, you're opening that door to them trusting you before you've even met them, potentially. But I love that. I love that there was something unique about the way that you would say that, Matt. It made me curious to learn more about that. So I love that.
And that's where, Davina, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have to chime in. I just have to.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't say D really excites me, because already I'm a yes to that, because I'm not defined and in a box with what the clinical world or the medical world say you've got this thing, and that you're defined by that. So I'm already a yes, and I would opt in harder to that, because it'd make me curious. Okay, so he doesn't say disorder. Interesting. What's his take on that? So I just wanted to share that I really love that.
Yeah, beautiful. So who's noticing that what Matt's doing there is bringing his unique take? Like how many books have been written about PTSD? Loads, right? But he's bringing his unique take on it through a natural health perspective. How many, I mean, again, that narrows the field. Have there been books written about natural health and PTSD? Probably, but there's less, you know, because there's more written from a medical perspective. So this is about finding your unique angle and edge. And this is something that I think is really important to bring a book to life so that it has the buzz, the resonance, the like, that. Compared to, yeah, seeing books like that. Not sure if that one's different. Because isn't that something that goes through your head sometimes? Can you relate to this going, oh, it's already been done, or who would want to hear from me? Like, am I just saying the same stuff? When you use your unique voice and give your unique perspective, that's what makes it different, because you've got a different lens, you've got different stories, you've got a different background. And what Matt's done is already sparked curiosity. So these are the sort of things that we help people with when they go through the journey with us to bring their book to life. And even so during the book writing intensive, one of the things that is part of that is what we call a snippet review, where you get to send in your work and it actually goes to Rachel. So like Rachel on the screen right here, and she'll give you feedback on all these sorts of things that we've spoken about. Is it dialed in exactly to your unique voice? Is it hitting your purpose? Is there a curiosity that's sparked? So you do get that live feedback. Awesome. I just want to go through a couple more of these. Let's just have a stretch and a breath because we're covering a lot of ground. Who's enjoying themselves? Who's getting a lot out of this? Can I get a thumbs up? Lauren, yep. Love it, team. I can really feel the connectivity in this group. Really love it. Okay, I want to talk transmissions for a moment because Lauren's brought it up. So maybe less applicable to the more logical, like, so we look at books, some books lean very logical, some lean very emotional, and some books are right in the middle. Now, we get a lot of very feminine writers in sexuality, in spirituality, all like in intuition, lots of sorts of books like that. And some of them are writing books that are what they would call a transmission. Okay. There's a couple going through the process right now. The one that you sent me to read review, Davina, I'm thinking of, right? Like it is a transmission. Now, how do you write a book like that? Well, much of the structural advice that comes through in this workshop won't necessarily apply to you. Because if you try and apply too much structure to a transmission, it can sort of strangle the creativity. Whoever went to school and you like really wanted to be creative and then they gave you this thing and they're like, you got to color inside the boxes. And you're like, but I don't want to go inside, I want to go outside the boxes, right? So if it's a transmission, if you're channeling it through, the best advice is get yourself in a clear, clean, connected place and just let it come. Any sort of mind stuff comes later. You've got to get it through. So you've got blocks to work with, and then you might apply somewhat of, like, for example, in some transmissions, chapter titles are plenty enough structure. You don't need subheadings because the subheading just starts to like sort of cut the energy. Yeah. So I just share that because some people are real, like we've had mediums, medical intuitives. We get a lot of people who are fully connected to the other side. And the way they do their book is they just stream it through. Does that make sense? Yeah. And most, I'm just going to say it, most other book writing coach service providers do not know how to work with someone that's giving a transmission and channeling a book. They just don't, because they try and apply, who's the target market? It's like the guides are telling me what to say. Like the target market is whoever it lands with. right? Stop trying to force me into a box. This is not a box thing. This is some other frequency that I've connected into. So I know we've just gone very esoteric there, but sometimes that's required for particular types of books. And it sounds like it might be really relevant for you, Lauren, to be somewhat an element, maybe. So yeah, just wanted to share that. It's a song. Yeah, book is a song. Beautiful. So if you've got it in your heart that you've really got something that you want to gift to the world as a piece of writing, that's also a beautiful place to come from in terms of purpose. My purpose is I've got this thing of beauty. I want to share it. That can be sufficient. Cool. Purpose, purpose, purpose. To share experiences, unique insights. Thank you for sharing that, Dane. Awesome. Shall we continue? Cool. Let's talk now about vision. So this is the vision for your book. I want you to, again, imagine that it's already done, that it's out there in the world. Where do you see it? What's it doing? Is it on the seat of participants at something you're speaking at? Is it online and people are buying it and reviewing it? Are you getting stopped at your local cafe and people are like, hey, you're Dane Disney. You did that book on that thing. Thank you so much. You've changed my life. Where do you see your book? And I want you to go from even the smallest micro wins to the biggest macro game-changing wins that you can think of, and everywhere in between. What would be a win for you? How would you know that this has been a really satisfying project? Yeah, audiobook. Awesome. So Matt sees it as an audiobook, 100%. I know we haven't heard from Matt yet, but I bet you've got a great voice for audiobook as well. Can we get you off mute? We need, this is...
Yeah, buddy, you can have me off mute.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yes, it's instant.
I don't think I've got a voice to narrate my own audiobook, but mate, we'll put it out there, all right?
Oh, Davina, you got some, this is Davina's moment.
I just have to say yes, and yes, you do need to actually narrate your own audiobook. Full stop. That's it. Just yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Done.
Yeah.
I'll write it in my notes, doing it myself.
Yeah. It's part of the magic.
Yeah.
It's part of the authenticity. Yeah. Who's also, I mean, did anyone else see audiobook as part of, is anyone, yes, Ciara did. If the book is an entry point, when people read the book, where do they go? Where do they go? What's the next step? What do you see? What are they doing once they get it? Are they telling their friends? Are they calling you up to find out what else they can do with you? What else you've got on offer? If the book's an entry point, what's the next step? Or and you don't have to have this perfect. This is something that we really flesh out a lot in the lead up to the book writing intensive. But just have some ideas. Or if you're not sure, you can also say, I'm open to the magic of where this book takes me. Because what we've noticed over 10 years of doing this is that a book is the completion of a hero's journey. It's the bringing home of the special knowledge from the journey that you've just been on. Yeah, seeing lots of nods and knowing. There's knowing here, right? You've each faced the dragon in your own way, the challenge, the test, and you've come through to the other side, and now it's time to codify that wisdom into writing that becomes a book. And the writing of the book brings you back to this home point to be able to then begin the next hero's journey, which I would just take a guess is some new level of voice and presence in the world, of impact, of leadership, perhaps, or at the very least, of personal satisfaction, knowing you did something that was tapping on your shoulder that you knew you needed to do in this lifetime, and it tapped you on the shoulder and you're like, yep, I did that. So, does anyone want to share? Well, we've got time for maybe one share here on what you saw. Mr. Dane Disney, would you care to share what you saw in that vision piece?
Yeah, I saw my book, which I'm calling Way of the Rainbow Dragon. On bedside tables, people traveling with it, as a sitting on like a coffee table next to the couch, and it's sort of being like a little guidebook as well, of people, carrying it around with them, and sort of when they're or like feeling unmotivated in some way, so having like easy access to it is where I sort of saw that.
It's the go everywhere. It's with people, in the places, on their person, in their bag.
Yeah. So originally as well, I was sort of thinking of it being a little bit bigger, but now I'm thinking maybe it's a little bit smaller, so it's easier to carry around, and that gives me a little bit less pressure as well of like feeling like I need to write more.
Yeah.
There's the message as well that I was getting in the beginning of that was, just do it.
Yep.
Get the things out there. You can write a second edition, a third edition, but just get it out there.
Yep. Love it. Who can really relate to what Dane's saying there about writing a book rather than the book? Yeah. Do you notice what happens to the pressure on self? It just like, whoo, because it's writing a book. It doesn't have to be the Encyclopedia Britannica, the A to Z of everything you've ever known ever about everything, right? That's pretty full on. It just needs to be a book. Did you have something there, Matt?
Yeah, buddy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I went through all your book map game plan over the past couple of days, and I did my best to complete it. But at the end of it, I actually just wrote, and if all of this does not hit the mark, then I'll write one that does. I'm like, it's gonna happen. Like,
boom. And who's noticing the freedom in this, like the last 2 minutes of conversation? It's like, oh, can you notice that perfectionism is collapsing and just disappearing? Yeah. Can you notice the freedom to give it a go and see how it comes out? These are really key things. You know how I said 81% want to do it and 0.01% complete? The gap is because of perfectionism, of the pressure that people put on themselves. And so part of the reason why I act like an Italian chef in these sessions is to break the state of like, hey, this doesn't have to be as serious as we make it out to be. And when we break that seriousness, we allow flow. And that's what the entire book writing intensive is about. That's how people write their book in a week. People go, I get emails all the time. Dave, I see you promoting this write your book in a week thing. I think it's BS. I don't think it's possible. But then they say, tell me how. So they're open to it, right? They're open to it. This is how, when you're in this flow state, when perfectionism is out the door, when you're in a group, like, can you feel the supportive nature of even the people that have come? This is a free workshop, guys, right? This is a free workshop. and the quality of people that are at this free workshop, like it goes next level in the intensive. The connectivity to the divine so that it flows through you goes next level. That's how books get done in a week. Now, can you tap in at that level by yourself? Absolutely. You're all rock stars. Is it easier to do it with awesome people who are also on the same mission, who are also supportive of the safe space, who get that this is vulnerable, who get that they've got to overcome their own stuff in order to do it? So much easier with a group. All right, let's keep going. But first, let's take another stretch. Stretch and a breath. Oh, can you guys hear those cracks? I did some yoga this morning and my this left side is just opening up. Love it. All right. Before we go to the next piece, which is message, I'd love you to put in the chat, what's one thing that you are really, really, really receiving from this conversation, from this workshop so far? What's one thing that's really landing for you? Please go ahead and put that in the chat. Rebecca, it is possible. Awesome. Lauren's getting the clarity. Great. So we're on track with outcomes here. Love it. Motivation that I can do this. Yeah. Who's starting to realize, hold on, if you didn't already believe that you could do it, who's having that self-belief just dial right up of like, oh, I need to put myself in that space because they're all going in that direction and it'll be a slipstream and I'll go with them. Yeah, totally. I can do this. Once that switch flicks to be like, I can do it, it's already done. And you just get to experience the journey from that point forward. Davina, I'd just love to hear from you. What's one thing, and we'll go to Rachel after, what's one thing you're receiving? I know, we've done these workshops many times and we're always in this space, but there's levels of distinction. So what's one thing that's popping out for you from today's discussion so far?
I just know the power of possibility. And I know that I'm kind of almost speaking directly to Rebecca here because I know she read my first book. And so I wrote that first book on the island when we were doing retreats, whilst co-facilitating, whilst doing body work, whilst doing cooking. And I did that in like 2.5 days. Now, you know me. So if I can do it, it's also possible for you, right? So I just want to pre-frame that for you specifically, but also for everybody. And to use Dave's analogy that he would normally use, and that is you can climb Everest by yourself. You can do it, but it's a lot easier if you've got great Sherpas to help you, along the way. And that's what we provide, and the community of people on the same mission. So
yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, Davina. Rachel, one quick thing you're receiving from today.
Yeah, I think the thing that keeps coming to mind for me is just the momentum that builds with a workshop like this, with the intensive especially. It's like having that little bit of momentum and encouragement and support. It creates this, pace that, like Davina was saying, is sometimes a lot faster than people think of when they think of writing a book. And it's really all about just embracing that momentum, noticing when you're standing in your own way and turning towards the group and just saying like, hey, can you guys help me, get unstuck? And I'm seeing that happen right now, even just in this session. It's really cool.
Beautiful, beautiful. Who is noticing in themselves that you're perhaps recalibrating how much human time is actually required to get this done? Who's getting the sense that it can actually happen maybe faster than you were thinking? Yeah, seeing some nods there. Awesome. All right. Shall we go into message, team? Can we get a thumbs up if you're on board for that? Yes, great. Okay, let's talk message. So this is the message that goes out to the world about your book. And the key aspects of this, there's 4 of them. Number 1 is the title. Number 2 is the subtitle. Number 3 is the target audience. And number 4 is the tone and the style of the voice. Now, here's the thing. Question for you all. If a book has a crappy title, what happens? Thumbs down, fart noise. Yep. Love it. Thanks, Matt. If I'm curious to see where people are at with this. If it has a good title, but the subtitle does nothing for the book, what happens? You get a maybe they buy it if your author photo is attractive, or there was a word in the title they really liked, or I don't know, your cover is in blue and they really like blue, you maybe get the buy. What happens if if you write the book in a tone and a style that's not your own, that's someone else's, like perhaps you're trying to be Brene Brown or you're trying to be Simon Sinek? What happens? Yeah, Matt says maybe they give you a second chance if the last 4 books were awesome, perhaps. Yeah, trust goes down. It looks clumsy. So let's flip it. When the title and the subtitle are just working together like a charm, what experience does that create for you as the reader? What happens? Engagement, curiosity, easy to opt in. Yes. Interest, captivation. Okay, so title and subtitle working together, really, really important. And I bring up the fact that they work together because a lot of people don't understand subtitle and get it really, really wrong. They waste it. Maybe they've got a great title, but they waste the space of the subtitle. A subtitle is where you have the opportunity to practically, can I give you a few pointers on title and subtitle? Would that be okay? So title, typically, and these are general rules that we've seen have worked. We've seen things work outside of these rules, but generally, you want the title to be a big, bold statement that is somewhere between 1 and 3 words. 5 words at the outside. This is not hard and fast, but just generally 1 to 3 words, because in cover designs, there's a concept called the hierarchy of sight. So when you look at a cover, what's the first thing you see? And you want the title to be bold. Typically, more often than not, in 99% of cases, you want the reader to see the title first. So if the title engages them, if it creates some curiosity, in 1 to 3 words, are you going to be able to give away, like, would the reader instantly know what it's about completely? Maybe, probably not. And so that's where the subtitle comes in to tell the reader what they're getting. What are they getting? Are they getting a guide? Are they getting stories? Are they getting tools? Are they getting transmissions? Are they getting channeled messages? Are they getting short stories? Are they getting a fresh perspective? What are they getting? And sometimes you will also put the type of person who it's for in the subtitle. The subtitle is often the part that speaks directly to the person you want to speak to. That's why target audience is part of the conversation here, because we want to have an idea of who we're aiming it for, who we're aiming it at. Yeah, sometimes we'll also put the type of person. Doesn't have to always be the case. Yeah. And I'll just say, if anyone's writing, one of the exceptions to this rule is if anyone's really leaning towards that, the book being an artistic creation from their heart, maybe it's channeled. If it's really leaning that way, sometimes no subtitle is required. Sometimes the subtitle is just too much structure for the message. So I just want to have that as like one caveat, to use a legal term. I knew I'd use my degree somehow. 6 years and I got to use one word in one session in 2023. How awesome. No, seriously, it was good for other reasons. Parts of it. So are you starting to see how title and subtitle tie in with the tone and the style and tie in with the target audience? You might not have all the pieces locked in together, but are you getting a sense of like, oh, this is how it gets put together? These are the pieces. Yeah. So do you want to do some, we've got time for probably one, maybe two freestyle shares where, if you would like to, we're going to do a mini hot seat on someone's title and subtitle. This is by way of a bit of a preview. We do an entire session on this in the book writing intensive. On the Wednesday, we all get together and everyone gets an opportunity to hot seat and have input from the group, from the coaches. So does anyone want to play? Lauren? She's in. Love it. Thank you. What you working with? Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you too.
Let's play.
So I don't have fully yet the subtitle, but
Yep.
the title is The Architecture of Magnificence.
Ooh. Ooh.
And what it's about is magnificence of you, full-bodied living and loving.
Full-bodied living, loving. Amazing. And the target audience is, are these people just starting, that's just starting their journey of, or are they a bit more developed? Where are they at?
The reader is people who essentially are feeling stuck or lost, or they have some type of awareness around self-development.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say mid to, already having knowledge as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Are you open to
Absolutely.
just anything that comes out here?
Throw it at me.
Yep. Awesome. Davina, you want to freestyle here?
I was just going to say now would be, because you're previewing this, a good opportunity to preview the throwing the donkey as well.
Oh, yes. Perfect. Okay. So one of the concepts that we hold dear in inspirational book writers is this concept that we're all okay to throw the donkey, and we actually have a plastic donkey. Now, what this means is permission in this piece to throw out any and all ideas, even the crazy ones, even the crazy one where I go, hey, Lauren, I actually think your book needs to be called Donkey. And like, that's the most absurd idea. It's like, of course it's not going to be called Donkey, right? But there's value in the contrast. There's value in going, no, that's not for me, because often it's the no that bounces you into the yes. So are we all okay here to, again, it's in this spirit of let's have a whirl, let's have a go. If we need to discard 7 options before we get to the one, that's just the game. So is that approach okay in this next couple of minutes, team? Can I get a thumbs up if you're in for that? Yeah. Cool. Davina, thoughts, feelings, downloads.
First of all, I love the title. Subtitle, can you repeat that or pop that in the chat because that didn't land? I just kind of.
We might just get, Lauren, can you just put the title and subtitle in the chat? I'll tell you a couple of things just while she's doing that. And then we'll go back to Davina. Whenever you put the word "the" in a title, it becomes more tangible. Try this on. Just feel this, team. What is more impactful? Architecture of magnificence or the architecture of magnificence? How to live and love fully. Awesome. When you put the word "the" in front of something, it becomes more tangible. It's the architecture of magnificence. We really encourage you to do that because a lot of us are talking about, a lot of our books are about things that are intangible. Like, sure, Matt might be talking about, various herbal medicines or various things that are physical, but a lot of us are talking about change on a mental, emotional, spiritual level, perhaps. And so putting the word "the" can make things more tangible. The architecture of magnificence, how to live and love fully. I like it. It's clear. It tells me the book's about magnificence. Like, team, are you receiving from Lauren? Like, is there clarity there? Is there not? Like, is there anything that you're unsure about with that? I mean, I think it's quite clear. How have you sat with it, Lauren? Like, does it land with you? Does it feel nice to say?
I feel because it's probably the subtitle that I feel could potentially have a little bit more refinement. It feels, I feel like Rachel maybe
Go for
some
it, Rachel.
pieces.
Go for it.
I've had a thought for a minute now. I love that you're using that word architecture, and that word brings to mind a lot of visuals for me, like a design or a whatever they call it, where there's a blueprint, where they've mapped out what something looks like and how it's going to be engineered. So I wonder if bringing in a word like design, blueprint, engineer into the subtitle would kind of bring it all together, where it's like you're saying the architecture of magnificence, how to design a life that whatever, or a blueprint for, it would kind of bring those two together, I think.
I'm just going to say I'm 100% on board with what Rachel just said because I was looking at the subtitle. I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not like
there's something
really
else.
And there's something else. Like, I don't always get the drops exactly what it is. Sometimes I absolutely do. There's a lot of books that I have, but I will know when it's aligned and on point and it is the thing, or when it's not. The subtitle wasn't. I love Rachel's idea. And I would also say to you, Lauren, be open, like just leave that little gap, like leave the door open just a little bit for it to evolve as you write it as well, because sometimes through the process, you might start with one thing. Like sometimes it's just bang, there it is, that's what it is. No changing subtitle or subtitle, but sometimes it evolves as you write it, and it might start as one thing, but by the time you finish it, it actually morphs and changes into something else. So just leave that door open and that gap slightly for those iterations to happen organically.
I'll just quickly add to that too. It can be helpful to say it out loud. And hearing yourself saying it can sometimes lead you different ways.
Beautiful. Was that valuable for you, Lauren? Yeah, rock and roll. Team, what did you just receive from that hot seat? What landed for you in your message? Can you put that in the chat? What became clear? What did you notice? It's awesome. We've had people on the when we do the Rockstar book title workshop, when we have people in the hot seat, we get to people at the end of the group and they go, yeah, I'm good. I got everything from the first 6 shares. I've actually got my title now. We can learn so much from what comes up. Speaking the subtitle, yes. During the intensive, we regularly practice and give you many opportunities to speak your title and subtitle. Now, I just want to make a point here. At this point in the journey, I think it's not required to have a perfect title and subtitle. Yeah. Who's starting from scratch? Like, who has nothing with their title? So Rebecca, Ciara, yep. Daniel starting from scratch, yep. Who's got something they're working with? So Lauren's got something they're working with. I saw Dane put his in as well. Thank you for that. Matt's got something he's working with. So building a title from scratch, all I believe you need at this point is like a couple of keywords to point you in the right direction. So that's why we go really into purpose. So Daniel, Ciara, Rebecca, and even, Matt and Dane and Lauren, if you want to do this exercise too, if you were to write down 2 or 3 words that your book is about, like, I'm just like, let's say I want to write a book on my baby boy Kai loves eating rice at the moment. Let's say I wanted to write a book about that. I would write down the word rice and I would write down the word baby. And then maybe that evolves into rice for babies. So what are the 1 or 2 or 3 words? Yeah, reclaim your power. So power is definitely something for you, Ciara. Jungian psychology, possibly. I don't know whether that'd be too much to put in the subtitle. I don't think it's in the title, but it possibly too much. Confident kids. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're starting from scratch, here's another question for you. What result do people get from reading your book? So Ciara's got reclaim your power. Are there any other results they get? Rebecca, I think confident kids I think it has the result inherent in that, confidence. It's like, are you a parent and do you want confidence for your kids? If yes, then this is for you. Like it's quite, and the KK has a nice, I learned this at English school. Alliteration, is that the word? Where there's 2 things together? Yeah. I said that I made up a word in a call with someone the other day and they're like, Dave, aren't you the word guy? Aren't you meant to be perfect? I'm like, dude, when you're the word guy, you get to make up the words. Like, you get free reign. You guys get free reign. A lot of people make up new words in their books as new concepts, right? Matt says a direction and a sense of purpose and meaning. Fantastic. So you can start to see the result. Daniel, did you get a few things down there for like what people get?
Oh yeah, just trying to scribble down a few things.
Yeah, cool.
So mine was obviously turning teams around.
Yep.
So initially I had just turning teams around.
Yep.
But then I had maybe a subtitle is this book is for current and upcoming leaders and managers on how you can turn teams around. Then maybe the title then became turning negative teams into thriving people. Or something along those lines. And just throwing things around at the moment.
Great.
I think I'm just
definitely in the ballpark. Go, Davina.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm just
definitely in the ballpark.
As a working title, turning teams around is a great.
Yep.
Turning teams around. There's again, that formula, right? It's really quick. It's easy to say. I think you could actually run with that as the title and just massage and work on the subtitle.
100%. 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, love it. And guys, this is all we need to achieve in this session today is a working title. Especially for those of you that continue on the path with us, we go over and there's like multiple refinement points. You get to test it, you get to speak it, you get to see how it feels, you get to go away, come back, speak it again. What I'm seeing is that everyone now has some sort of direction. Even I'm just looking back in the comments, Mr. Dane Disney, I really liked, do you feel pretty set on yours? I think yours has got, it's I'm just trying to find it so I get the exact words right. How do you feel with yours in this moment, Mr. Dane?
I'm pretty, I just love my title of Way of the Rainbow Dragon. I'm sort of toing in between of the subtitle, and I think, yeah, as you're sort of saying, that's going to evolve over time a little bit more, and sort of just having that direction. And I love as well addressing the reader in there. So like the subtitle that I've got of The Path to Living and Leading Your Best Life for Go-Getters, for people who want to actually do something with it, instead of just targeting everyone, because it's really not for everyone. It's for people who want to actually, take action on that. And I think that calling them out is really going to resonate with them. They're like, oh, okay, this is for me if I'm actually going to implement something. And for the people that doesn't resonate with, I'm not phased on them.
Beautiful.
Reading my book.
Beautiful. I love it. The other thing I'll just add to that, and this might be valuable for other people in the group too, is while we've been really focusing on title and subtitle, you can also communicate so much through font type and the colors and the images that go on the front cover. So when Dane just said go getter, if I'm just throwing out ideas here as an example, if you were to do like a red orange, there's like an entrepreneurial orange color that a lot of entrepreneurial books use that's got this like forward motion energy to it. You can also communicate what you want to communicate through the design. So just know that that's a feather in your cap to be able to pull out. Now, you don't need to have the design skill to know the exact like hex code. Maybe some of you do. If you do, great. Just to share with you, so our cover design team, for people that publish with us in Publish and Launch, our cover design team is trained in brand marketing. So if you were to say something like, hey, I need to, if Daniel says, hey, I need to communicate authority and this needs to open doors for me to corporations or organizations of this nature, can we use a blue or a black or something like that communicates that? Great. If someone goes, hey, I'm speaking to more a spiritual awakening crowd who are opening up, then the sharp lines, perhaps of Daniel's book, wouldn't be as appropriate in a spiritual book. You'd have more, there'd be a bit more flow and movement to the cover. Does that make sense, team, about how there's those design tools that you can also play out with the cover? Davina, we've got one moment for a share here, and then we'll move on to structure in a moment.
Yeah, I was just, in regards, because we were talking about iterations, I just was wondering, throwing this out for your consideration, Dane, is if you took the out of the subtitle and had The Way of the Rainbow Dragon, A Path to Living Your Best Life for Go-Getters. So it makes it a little bit more succinct, but it also grounds it a bit more. For me personally, when I hear that, it's like, oh, yep, I can opt into that. I like the at the beginning of the title, and then it's a path, because it's not necessarily the path. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be for everyone. And you've said who it is for in the subtitle, as in it's for go-getters. And just by leaving the leading your best life, just like The Way of the Rainbow Dragon, A Path to Living Your Best Life for Go-Getters.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Davina. Team, let's have a stretch. Let's have a breath. How are we doing? We're downloading the things. We're getting clear on the things. Oh, good times. Good times. All right. Shall we talk structure? Shall we talk structure? Can I get a thumbs up if you're into that? Yep. So sometimes people try and start their book with structure without getting all of those other pieces clear. Can you see how that potentially would cause them to start? Like they're just getting straight in there and they're, oh, but I don't know if that's, should I go that way or that? It's like, we've already made the decisions about direction. Okay, now it comes to structure. So let's talk a couple of ideas about this. This is a really important piece. It's something that we cover a lot in depth in the lead up to the book writing intensive. And so first thing, you've heard the saying, people judge a book by its cover, right? Who's heard that? I have observed that to be true. I have also observed that people judge a book by its introduction. If your introduction is boring and falls flat, what happens to the reader? Put in the chat, what happens? Nosedive. Matt's got the splat. We've got a nosedive and we've got a splat and we've got like a dead fish. We got thumbs down with a fart noise. Love it. And I am a dad, so fart jokes are permitted in this space with a 2-year-old. If you don't like it, hey, we're online. You're all good. It tanks. Yeah. Now, when you nail your introduction, what does that create in the reader? It hooks them in. If the introduction is right on point, intrigue, momentum, excitement, commitment. It gets them to commit. It gives them excitement and anticipation. When they commit, they're more likely to read it through to the end. Because here's the thing. You do a great job on the introduction, but chapter 3's a bit so-so. They're already in. They're probably going to give you another chance and keep going. Your introduction's a bit so-so, but chapter 3's amazing. They're already out. Yeah. So what we've developed, and one of the things that I'm most proud of in terms of feedback that our book writers get from their readers is they get feedback saying, you were speaking to me from the moment I picked up the book and I read it cover to cover. And I think in today's day and age of attention spans, that is one of the highest compliments that people can receive for a book. Wouldn't you agree? For someone to say, you were speaking to me and I read the whole thing. Wow. Isn't that something that you would want for your book? Not only from a business perspective, but from just a perspective of like, they got the information. It wasn't just a book they bought and then put on the shelf and didn't read. Yeah, Matt can already sense the weight of importance of the intro. So the intro is a really important piece, so important that we have multiple points of review and support so that you nail your introduction. During the intensive, we do the snippet reviews, like I said before, and we encourage people to make the introduction one of those snippets. Those snippets go to Rachel. Rachel, do you just want to share a couple of things that maybe you see with intros that you get sent as those snippets? Like maybe the top tip that you see that people miss or that they do and it really works.
I think the biggest thing is just being true to your own voice. And, at this point, if you don't yet have your intro, reminding yourself that it's going to take some iterations to get there. like when I read Matt's note just now, I already feel the weight of importance. Like, don't let that weight be heavy on you. You know, I've actually found sometimes the introduction comes very late in the book, because by the time you have this big chunk of the book, you now know what you're saying about it. So I guess that's kind of, you know, there's a couple different routes you might go. You might start right at the introduction and write that first, or you might be like I've been with some of my books where it takes a while to get there because you need to have written the book first. But yeah, just letting it be iterative. And I love the introductions that get really clear on who the book is for and who it's not for. And a lot of times writers will come right out and say that, you know, they'll say, is this you? And then describe who the book is for, or just, you know, very directly say, this isn't for you if, you know, XYZ. That to me sounds conversational. It's easy to relate to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Team, what did you just receive? What landed for you from Rachel's share? Please put it in the chat. What hit home? Being open to not nailing it on the first go. Yep. Again, it's like this whole thing, give it a go, give it your best, and know that it's an iterative process of just filling in gaps. Lauren, be true to yourself and about what you truly stand for. Yes, that state. Okay. In my opinion, a big reason why this 48-page thing that disappears when you turn it sideways did so well is because I'm very clear about what I stand for in this book. It is clear cut. It could not be more clear cut. Sierra says, my voice matters. Yes, you want the reader to opt in and go like, this is the voice I've been waiting to hear. Yeah, in 2008, when I was leaving law, my mum actually bought me Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek. Who's familiar with that book? I was staring down the barrel of 40 years in a corporate job, banging away as a lawyer. And I read that book, and that book was the voice of like, this is the possibility of where I want to take my life. Like everything he's saying, I've been sensing, I've been trying to language it. I haven't been able to language it, but he's presenting a vision of how things could be in a way that makes sense to me. Rebecca says, conversational, easy to relate to, connecting with the reader. Yeah, 100%. Love it, love it. So can I give you 3 key pieces to an introduction? Would that be okay? Yeah. So number 1 is you want to have a catchy opening line. So really using that first line to draw attention. You can do that through a story. You can do that through a statistic. You can do that with a powerful statement. Rebecca, the world needs more confident kids. Boom! I know what the book's about. Thank you. You've told me your entire stance in one sentence. Sure, there's layers to it, there's pieces to it, but you've made it clear to me. That's number 1. Number 2 is explain who the book's for and who it's not for, as Rachel said. This book is for you if you're a parent who wants to have a confident kid, if you want the best for your kids, if you believe that there is an infinite potential inside your children and you want to support them in a way that brings that to life. I totally just made that up. Something in your words along those lines. And the third key to an intro is to tell your story. And some of you will tell it in short form, and some of you will tell it in a bit longer form. But what the part of the story that we're telling is, what are your life experiences that have brought you to this point to be the person to share this story? So I can only imagine that Daniel and Matt, that you guys have just incredible stories that have got you to this point of stuff you've seen, stuff you've experienced, challenges you've faced to get you to this point. Ciara, I know you shared with me, not the specifics, but the year that you've been on. That intro is the opportunity to share some of those pieces. Yeah.
I will quickly say too, I love an intro that's like you're kind of in the middle of a scene, right? You're like in this moment with someone where, you know, you're just right there with them. And that would be more of an anecdotal type of introduction, but it kind of pulls you right in and lets you see and feel everything that's going on for that person.
Beautiful. Once you've got the intro, then the way I want you to think about chapters is just very simply, what do I need to tell people to communicate my message or my story? What are the pieces? And think about it in containers. Like there's this block of ideas I need to share. There's these stories. There's these principles. For some of you, you will just tell your story in a chronological fashion and draw the lessons out. And for others, you might have a framework or a process or some principles or some tools. Like I'm imagining, Daniel, you've got various frameworks and like you've got some actual stuff to give people in the book. Would that be fair to say? For how to turn teams around?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ideas, methods, what worked for me.
Yep. So putting that, like, and you might be at the point where, for example, with us, we've got a very clearly defined method: write, publish, launch. So that's what goes in the book. So often your book can be the beginnings of the codification of your methods, of your ideas. Is the framing of the rest of the book in the introduction? Yes. So frame one piece in the introduction, very important about is framing the reader, framing the mind of the reader as they enter the book. Yeah, give them a helicopter overview. That's a good idea too. Yep. And so when it comes to structure, you want to focus on why it's important and what they need to know, and less on the how. Reason being, if you go into the how, you're starting to turn it into a textbook, into an Encyclopedia Britannica, and sometimes it can be too much for people. But if you tell them why it's important and what they need to know, especially if your book is opening the door to your world, so people can come into your world and get more from you, then why it's important, what they need to know, those are the key parts. Like think about it today. So we do an entire hour on the introduction in the book writing intensive. Obviously, we didn't have time to do that entire hour today, but we did like 5 minutes on it. I told you why it's important, and I told you what you need to know. Here are the key bits to put in an introduction, and then the actual how and the implementation of that comes in the next stage. Is this making sense, team? I know I'm throwing a lot of like concept at you here. Now, look, some people are writing their life's work, and so the book ends up really big and there's lots of how. But if this is your first book, I just I encourage you to relieve yourself of the pressure of needing to write an Encyclopedia Britannica of everything you know. Right? Now, what I'm not saying here is write something really, in terms of length, the guiding principle here is say what you need to say to get the message across, not more and not less. So don't be a tight ass and hold back what you've got, right? Give abundantly in the book, but then there's also so much. Have you ever been to a dinner and you just like, that was amazing, but then it was too much. It was too much. It was too much. And they start bringing out the 7th dessert. And maybe you love dessert. So you love the first 4 desserts, but then once it got to 5, it's like, oh, I can't. And then they keep bringing out dessert, and then they're up to 10 desserts after 10 main meals. And you're just like, it was great. And it started to become too much. And then it changes the experience. Are you guys getting me? Like there's a sweet spot in terms of size. And that's another thing that we provide guidance on in the snippet reviews and during publish and launch is like, hey, I think you're a bit skinny here. Can you give me a bit more on that? Because like, that was really good. Like, keep going. And then conversely, yeah, it's that, I think that bit is a bit too much. Can you just chop it there? And then that's the perfect size. So I wonder what's landing for you about this conversation about structure, introductions, chapters. I'd love you to put in the chat, what is hitting home for you right now? I'm not writing an encyclopedia. That's amazing. That's the best. It will work out just fine if I'm totally and unashamedly myself. Yeah, just be yourself. Be yourself. Absolutely. It's helping me refine what I'd like to write about and considering the structure, what to talk about and when. Beautiful. Good one, Rebecca. Tell the story with lessons and not so much of the how of what the reader should do. Yeah, perfect. Because Daniel, when you want to give them the taste of like, oh, you want them to go, that's what we need to do. Call that guy, get him in for training, book him for the team. Do you know what I mean? That's the effect that you want for your book. In fact, you want people to have the feeling that they can do it. So earlier in this workshop, when several of you said, hey, I'm feeling like I can actually do this. To me, music to my ears, because that is like the #1 objective of this workshop. And we achieved it within like 30 minutes. For you guys to see and believe in yourselves that there's a pathway here and that you can do this. Lauren's getting epic clarity. I love it. I love the word epic. Importance of a great intro, speak directly to what I know and why it's important. Awesome. Cool. Let's have a stretch. We've got 15 minutes to go. So, team, can we spend a few minutes just talking about what the path forward looks like from here? Would that be okay? Yeah. Who's seen the intensive or heard of the intensive prior to this call? And yeah, some of you have. Daniel hadn't. So the pathway moving forward is we have the online book writing intensive coming up the 5th to the 11th of June. There's a stack of people from around the world that have already joined us. And next week, we actually start the pre-work for that, where we're doing the book map again, but in more depth. We're doing the quantum book writing strategy call, which is, you know how we talked about writing a book in a week? Well, there's actually a method to that we've seen people use. There's 8 key strategies that if you use them, it supports you to get the book done in a week. So we do those 2 sessions. We're also doing a bonus question and answer session in the lead up next week. And then we get to the week and it's time to write. It's kind of, Matt's nodding. He's nodding. There can sometimes be, who is noticing the sense of like, oh, this has really kickstarted my book and there's momentum here and there's clarity and okay, there's some connection with the group. Who's feeling like they want to continue that? Who wants to, basically what I'm inviting you to is to have a conversation with me about your book and whether you'd like to continue the path forward with us, whether it be at this intensive or the next one in October. Matt, we're already talking in a little bit. Did you have, yeah, so I believe Matt's already in. What the intensive is about, guys, is if you want to get it done, it's the place and the space for that. You've already got a feeling of what the coaches are like. That's why I bring the coaches on here. You know, a big part of how we operate at Inspirational Book Writers is we want to demonstrate to you that we can actually help you. And this session is part of that. This has not been a sales workshop, right? You guys may well buy the intensive, and so sales will come from this, but we've actually rolled up our sleeves. There has been actual help here to move you forward. And we believe that that's the best way to demonstrate to you that we know what we're talking about and that you can trust us moving forward, that we can support you in that way. So a couple of aspects to the intensive. Every 4 hours for the week, so every 4 hours, that's 6 times every 24 hours, there is a live Zoom check-in call like this, where people from around the world get on the call and you have an opportunity to get live one-on-one coaching with me, with Rachel, with Davina. Obviously, I'm not on in the nighttime ones. Davina does one of the nighttime ones. Rachel does like 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. So if you're a night owl, you'll get Rachel. If you're early morning, you'll get Rachel. Yeah, Matt says so much value from this session. Totally appreciate. Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. And thank you for the way you've shown up. It's been superb. And I really look forward to chatting with you shortly about your book as well. The support is there every 4 hours throughout the week. During the week, you also get the snippet reviews. So you get to submit your work to us to get live feedback. And Rachel is the editor that's on that. So if you've enjoyed some of Rachel's shares and perspectives, you know that you're going to get amazing feedback, not just on what you're doing great, but on where your gaps are as well, because that's part of it. Another aspect to the intensive is we have what we call specialty workshops. So we've talked about the Rockstar Book Title Workshop. We do an entire session on that. We have a compelling introduction workshop. We do an entire session on that as well. And then at the end of the week, for those of you that actually have, that write the book and then want to continue to actually bring the book out to the world and learn about how to publish and launch that book, we do an entire session on how to publish and launch your book. So this is the natural unfolding of the journey, is bookmap into the intensive, and then whoever writes books and wants to continue with us, we also have a publish and launch service to help with publishing. So I'm curious, does anyone have any questions about the intensive? Anything you'd like to know? And just time commitment. So here's an interesting point. We recommend that as much as possible for that week of the intensive, that you keep that as clear as possible. However, the reality is a lot of us here have businesses, families, kids, other responsibilities of other NATE clients. And so the way we've designed it is so that you can jump in at the times when you are free. So we've had people who, one contact that Ciara knows, Justin Lodge, who's a bit of a legend in our circles. He wrote his last book with us in February while working a full-time job. He worked 9 to 5, came on in the mornings, came on in the evenings, wrote his book in a week. We've had single mums who have got Davina's got 2 kids herself. She's got a massive lot on her plate. She facilitates, she wrote this one in 2.5 days while facilitating an event. So I share these stories with you to inspire you and show you that when you're connected to inspiration, this can happen in a really quality way and really quite fast. The use of the word inspirational in our name is very deliberate. It's very deliberate. You notice it's not logical book writers, right? Or, I mean, there's definitely logic as part of this. So if you've got blocks of time, this can happen really, really fast. And one of the things that you'll hear us say in the intensive a lot is use the 15 minutes before the check-in, because it's incredible what you can be getting out when it's like, oh, I've got 2 minutes, better get this sentence finished, better get this paragraph finished. So don't think it's like 7 days and like I said, this is not grind it out. This is connect into your inspiration, have the right support, have the right coaching when the decision points come up, get the right feedback, stay in flow, and out it comes. Does that answer your question, Lauren? Yeah? Awesome. Any other questions, team? Davina, do you have anything you'd like to share with the group in terms of a message perhaps about, you know, today and then where we're at now and perhaps moving forward?
More an observation, I think, because we've done a few of these free book map sessions now, but today's group especially, I would love to take each and every one into the intensive because it feels like a really connected group, and you all seem to be at a space with your books and your message where you already know it's possible. You just need the right support to help you bring it out, because you all individually have got that clarity, and even though you don't know, a bit shaky maybe on the confidence, you're all at that space that you can absolutely do this, and I know we can help you. See, my words are gone.
You've lost your words.
I have lost my words. I'd love to see you there.
Awesome, awesome. Team, can I share with you, can I just bring up on my screen like everything that's included, and shall I just share with you like what the investment is? Because we've got a very, you don't even know I'm doing this, Davina, a ridiculous offer for this group that I only decided we were going to do once this group formed. So this is what's in, can you guys see that? Can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen there? Yeah. So like I said, there's all the pre-work. There's the 3 sessions of pre-work leading in. We do an opening ceremony on the first morning, which sets the scene. 6 live Zoom check-ins every 24 hours. We also do 6 accountability check-ins. Now, these are written check-ins. So as you're breaking your week into smaller pieces, perhaps in between check-ins, you can write up in the Facebook group, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm working on. And if you've got any questions, we always have a coach monitoring that to be able to give you that support. You get feedback on your manuscript. This is the snippet reviews that I spoke about. Twice, 2 lots of 1,000 words. They get sent to Rachel, you get the feedback. Now, the compelling introduction workshop. So we talked about that, about how to create an enchanting and magnetizing introduction that just brings people in. There's the Rockstar Book Title Workshop, so you can really nail your title and subtitle. We do the Publish and Launch Preview Session, which I spoke about, is how, like we hinted at before, the publishing world is full of exceptions and oddities, and we share with you how to move through that. You get unlimited questions and support in the Facebook group during the pre-work and the intensive. Be part of the epic group energy. We've already seen that today. And we do a closing ceremony to round it all out. And we leave the group open for a week after for any final follow-ups. Now, there is an option as well. We call it the Diamond Intensive, which I'll share with you here. So this is the group option. So everything we just spoke about is $14.95 Aussie. The Diamond level gets you an extra level of support. So the Diamond level gets you a one-on-one book map with me in the lead up. And I've only got space because we're only 2.5 weeks out. I've got space for 3 more of those. So there's only 3 spots for Diamond left. So 2 hours one-on-one with me. We go really deep into your book. And you also get me on a walkie-talkie. So there's an app on your phone, you press the button, it's like a walkie-talkie, direct line of contact to me in the lead up, during the event and after the event to answer your questions. So if you're looking for that extra layer of one-on-one support, Diamond is definitely the way to go. I mean, the intensive is packed as well. So either way, you're fully taken care of. And for this group, this is the bit that I was going to, that I didn't tell Davina, so hope this is all right with you, Davina. For anyone from this group that joins us, we're actually going to bring back the early bird pricing that expired weeks ago. So this will go down to $11,995. And this one will go down to $2,695. So $300 off either of the options. And for you guys that are here, I will also send you a copy of my book in the physical, Write, Publish, Launch. Like Davina said, I would love to work with you guys, and we don't say that to everyone. We've had our own journey with people that are difficult to work with. Hence why we're laughing about it, but I think we could really rock out with each of you. And so what I'd invite you to do is, if you would like to, well, first of all, that offer is only available until 5 p.m. this Friday. Okay, only till 5 p.m. So that's like for if you're in a different time zone, that's like 2 days and 5 hours from now. Some of you will know, yep, I'm already in. Great. So I'll put the link in the chat so that you can just get straight into it and register. If you would like to have a chat with me personally, I've got some spots open tomorrow, just a couple, and you can book a time to chat with me on that second link. So I would encourage everyone to book a time because, well, book a time if you want the momentum to continue, you know? So Ciara's in, awesome, love it. Look forward to seeing you. Ciara's got to go for a client, but she's in for the intensive, fantastic. Any other questions, team? Any thoughts? Rebecca, Matt, Daniel, thoughts, questions? I think Rachel's got to go in a moment too. So if you need to go, Rachel, just jump off. The workshop is kind of officially closed, but we will keep the, this is like after the event water cooler sort of conversation, so to speak.
June's too early.
Yeah.
So October, if you can send some info for October, that'd be great.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome. So we can do that. If you, October pricing is going up a fair bit. If you wanted to get in now for October, we would honor the deal that we're presenting now for October. So I can send you through an email on what that looks like so you know what you're working with. Yep. Awesome. Matt says, totally ready to jump in. He has time to attend June. Love it. Yes, looking forward to chatting with you in a little bit, Matt. Yeah, great vibes. Love your message. Big fan of natural health myself. Awesome, awesome. Lauren, thoughts, feelings, reflections, concerns, questions? Yeah, beautiful. No questions. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful. Rebecca, thoughts, questions? Sounds great. Awesome. Well, you've got the tick of approval from Davina, and that's all that matters. Davina hunts down my house and makes me know it if I let someone in that Davina doesn't approve of. Yeah. All right, team. Thanks so much. We're going to round out here. Appreciate you all. Thanks for doing this with us. Look forward to chatting with you, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.